Strictly music, only music and nothing else. Let's go ahead and get into an album that may have escaped your vision. Something that's a bit under the radar, but I found it enjoyable. Let's go ahead and get into Lil Tyler's Mr. Skii album. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. Strictly music, only music and nothing else. How do I feel about Mr. Skii by Lil Tyler? Track 1. Tyler creeps on the track with that flow that we love from him and the beat, and it does him a lot of favors. The beat does him a lot of favors. I like this a lot. It has some bounce to it. Not a bad way to open up a project at all. I think he opens it up strong, or what I would consider strong from him. He let us know exactly what we're going to be getting into on this Mr. Skii project, and that's track 1, Been Working. Now track 2, Met Gala. Big fan of the beat on this, very smooth, and Tyler switches his flow a bit. It's still reminiscent of that flow that we know him for, but it's still different. And the engineer plays around with the chopped and screwed style, in and out, peekaboo. He'll drop the chopped and screwed and then he'll take it. So I like how the engineer got a little bit creative on that towards the tail end of the track. And big ups to production on this. I like the beat. As I said, the engineer went crazy. I added some chopped and screwed tidbits in there. So track 2, Met Gala. I'm liking Met Gala. I'm liking how he's opened up this project. It's very sturdy, very Lil Tyler-esque. So he's opening this project up in a way that I can enjoy from him. Now track 3, Ocean. This is a standard Lil Tyler track, which is in no way a bad thing. However, it doesn't leave much to be said. It's a good track, but it's very safe. Nothing to write home about with this track. Standard Lil Tyler track. If you're familiar with Lil Tyler, you can just envision how this track sounds if you haven't heard it already. Standard Lil Tyler track. Now track 4, Stick to the Code. Tyler gets experimental on this track while still maintaining his style and still maintaining himself stylistically. The beat is nasty work. I'm a big fan of the beat on this, and I'm a big fan of this track. It'll definitely be getting a bit more burn from me personally. I do feel like it's a bit short for me, and it runs the risk of getting repetitive towards the end. But I enjoyed this track a lot, and I think I'll give it some more in my personal time. I do like track 4, and that was track 4, Stick to the Code. Now track 5, Young Nigga. What the artist has consistently in his bag as Tyler, the beat selection is often the difference maker. Like a lot of the times, the beat is what makes the difference. And that is on full display with track 5. Because this is a standard Tyler track. Standard Lil Tyler track. Very reminiscent of track 3. Nothing to really write home about. However, the beat on this gives track 5 a slight edge over tracks like track 3. And it takes it to just a little bit, I don't want to say another level, but it pushes it just a bit further. So the beat on tracks when you're dealing with Lil Tyler are very crucial because he's so consistent and he's such a artist that stays in his pocket, stays in his bag. Variation will come often from the beats, and track 5 definitely gave him a beat where he can get a bit more creative and stretch his legs, and it's like listening to the same thing but you're putting it through different speakers. It gives it a different type of bop. The beat definitely carried a little bit on that track 5. So big ups to the production on that. I'm not entirely sure who it was, but big ups to him. Another standard Tyler track on track 6, 7 a.m. in Munich. Track 6, 7 a.m. in Munich. Another standard Lil Tyler track. But he's joined by Kodak Black. And Kodak comes in for a good portion of the track and adds the diversity to the track. Big ups to Yak. This is a very standard, safe Tyler track. A very standard, safe Tyler track. So here we are. We're about, let's see here. We're about 6 songs in, 6 tracks in, and 3 of them are standard Tyler tracks. One of them is just standard all the way through, being track 3. Track 5 is a standard Tyler track, but the beat gives it some variation. And track 6 is a standard Tyler track, but Kodak gives it all the diversity that it needs. So I want to see Tyler take some more chances at this point as we approach the halfway mark for this project. I want to see Tyler take a little bit more chances and not stay so deep in that pocket. I don't want him to lean on that throughout the entirety of this project. I really want him to take a little bit more of a risk sonically. And so far, 6 tracks in, with the exception of maybe Met Gala, and Stick to the Code possibly. It sounds like standard Lil Tyler, and that's what we're here for. But he's been around for a while, even though he is a younger artist. And I would love to see him take some more chances throughout this project here. So as we approach track 7, TH2DH, it's almost like Tyler understood the project needed more life and variation and granted us this track here. His flow remains, but he speeds it up. He speeds it up a great deal to accommodate for the beat, and that gives this track some serious bounce. I believe this was one for the ladies. I don't know if it hits the mark as a true club twerk track. That's for the ladies to decide, but it's a valiant effort nonetheless, and it provides some much needed variation to the overall project. So I do like that. I do like that he did switch it up. It's almost as if he heard my complaints or heard, just the track in general from 1 to 6 and said, okay, let's spice this up. Now, track 8, Mr. Skii. I like this track a lot. Sharing the name with the project. On Mr. Skii, he adds a slight variation to his voice, into his flow. And honestly, that's all he really has to do, because his standard flow is already so unique. Tyler's known for that unique flow that he has. That's how he got to the position that he's in. He's known for that unique flow. As long as he can avoid falling victim to repetition, you could still find him enjoyable. And for a project of this length, that is crucial. This project is very long. Repetition, you cannot afford too much of that on a project of this length, because then you'll find people aren't listening to the entirety of it and they're just trying to get through it, or it becomes background noise. You want people to listen, you want people to engage. And when he adds some variation to his flow and to his style, and the beat comes in and gives him that extra leg up, then he becomes a much, much more enjoyable artist. Not saying that vintage and classic Tyler isn't good, because that's why we're here. We still do want to hear that, but we don't want to hear it all the way through. We do want a little bit of spice. We do want a little bit of seasoning on our food. Now, track 9, Open the Door, featuring V's. Easily my favorite track on the project. V's adds a lot to this track for me, and Lil Tyler wants his as well. He turns up his rapping ability, and the beat on this is easily probably the best beat on the project so far, if not the best beat on the project as a whole. Big ups to production. I did hear both Ty and Sig's tags in the beginning, so bigs up to them. I wouldn't mind this track being longer. I like the chemistry between Tyler and V's, and I definitely wouldn't mind more of it, but this is easily probably the best song or on the entirety of the project, and that was track 9, Open the Door, featuring V's. Now, track 10, another safe classic Tyler track, and that was track 10, Change My Ways. Not much to be said about these particular tracks. We know what to expect from tracks like this at this point in the project, and they're almost filler-like. Definitely a step down from track 9. Nothing to really write home about track 10, Change My Ways. We just keep it pushing at that point. It's almost like a filler. And the track that comes after it, track 11, Too Slippery, featuring Bossman D-Lo, it kind of solidifies the point that the track before it was a filter or a filler. It's like you just slapped that in there just to get to this track, Too Slippery, which is track 11. Bossman D-Lo takes this track completely over. Ironically enough, Tyler doesn't add much to this track, even though it's supposed to be his song. He feels more like a feature on his own track. But D-Lo carries this track and is still enjoyable. Tyler definitely took a back seat on this track, and I don't even think that this is his song, in all honesty. I think it was just a gift from D-Lo, and he slapped it on his album because D-Lo's hot as fish grease right now, and that's somebody that you want on your project. If you can manage to get him, you want him. So I don't entirely blame Tyler for taking a back seat on this one, but by all standards and metrics, this is Bossman D-Lo's song, and it's just on Tyler's album, and Tyler just put his name on it. Like, D-Lo did all the work on the group project, and Tyler just signed the dotted line to say, hey, I was here. So do with that what you will, but it's still an enjoyable song. But on Lil Tyler's Mr. Skii track, it has nothing to do with Tyler. I give that entirely to Bossman D-Lo. Maybe like 95 and 5 or 90 and 10. 5 and 10 being in favor of Tyler. So definitely didn't show up there. And it's one of the more popular songs on the track, and it's not, nothing to be said about the artist himself. So that shows the ability of Bossman D-Lo. Now, track 12, First Show. Not a big fan of this track. It's reminiscent of an older Tyler, and I feel like Tyler, he grew past this, and I feel like sonically he's evolved past this type of track. Definitely in bottom 2 contention for me. No real good, nothing really good to say about that track. Nothing good comes to mind about that track. It reminds me of when he first came out, and it doesn't sound like a studio produced, or it sounds like something that he just dug up and slapped on the project, and maybe he wanted a bit of that nostalgia on here, but I feel like he could have left it. He's evolved beyond that, and even in terms of this project, that track is still very low tier sonically, and I don't know what production was doing on that. I'm not a fan of that in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It may be the worst song on here, and that was track 12, First Show. Now, track 13, Stayed Down, featuring BLP Kosher and Trapland Pat. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about that one, because I found that one to be also a little bit, Tyler's joined by BLP Kosher and Trapland Pat. These two are for sure the weakest features on the entire project. And I do like Trapland Pat, but these two features are for sure the weakest features on the entire project. Kosher fights back a little bit. He revives himself a little bit on his second verse, but overall, very weak showing from the 2 guest appearances on this track, and Tyler didn't add much to this track either. I would say this track is an overall weaker track. I would maybe even say this track is also in bottom 3 contention. It had some names on it, so it's going to get a bit more looks, but they added nothing to this track at all, and Tyler didn't really do much for this track at all. So now we're starting to see this project slope off a little bit, and I don't know how I feel about that. I would like for him to finish out even stronger than he came in, and it's starting to slope, and I'm not a big fan of that. And that was Stayed Down, track 13, featuring BLP Kosher and Trapland Pet. That's also bottom 3 contention in my opinion. Now, track 14, Ain't Come to Chill, another filler-esque track from Tyler. The tail end of this project just isn't doing it for me. It's not closing out strong at all at this point. It's like you just emptied the locker and you're just trying to get your shit off. Nothing to write home about this particular track. It follows that filler theme that we see scattered around the project, and I am not a fan of how this project is coming to a close. Ain't Come to Chill, track 14, Stayed Down, track 13, First Show, track 12. All nothing to write home about any of these projects. Track 11, Too Slippery, he gave that entirely to Bossman D-Lo. Track 10, nothing to really write home about. We don't really see no life coming from this project until we go all the way backwards to track 9. So from track 9 all the way to track 14, track 9 was the last time I was really, fully enthralled in this project, and then from track 10 to 14, I'm just like, nah, this ain't it. This project took a heavy dip towards the end. It's almost as if you didn't expect people to reach the end. You're just throwing anything out there. Not a fan of how this project is closing out. Now, the last song on this project is a two-parter. The beat switches in the middle, and I think that was creative, and that is track 15, Gotta Lose to Win / What You Think Now. And this track is very reminiscent of Kodak. I can see Kodak's influence heavy on the first part of this track. Kodak being the artist he is for the area that they both hail from, I can appreciate Tyler paying homage to Kodak. I feel like you need to pay homage to Kodak if you're from that Florida Bay Area, you know. And I find it one of the more enjoyable tracks on the tail end of the project, if not the most enjoyable track on the tail end of the project. And then he switches the beat in the middle, and then he goes back to his vintage flow, and he chooses his own flow and his own bag to carry the project out. So this 2-song track kind of brings a little bit more life to the tail end. But all in all, this is a very safe project from Lil Tyler. However, I do feel he did his best work when taking chances sonically and adding variations to his already known for flow. He took enough chances on this project for it to not be repetitive, but not enough to push it completely over the edge. All in all, it was a safe project from Tyler. He doubled down on the lane that he's known for. And this is an artist that is comfortable, and that's not entirely a bad thing. While it does prevent him from being in certain conversations, he's still at the forefront of this particular lane. So this is niche music at its finest. This is niche music. This is, I'm going to stay in my pocket, and whenever you come check for me, I'm still going to be in this pocket. The tail end of that project left a lot to be desired. There's a couple in there that I may replay. The one with V's is easily the best track on this project, and that was track 9. All in all, this was mid. It wasn't bad, and it wasn't good, and it was a few steps shy of great. It was mid. It was a very safe project, and it was mid. Not to say that it's not enjoyable. He's a niche artist. If you want to hear that smooth, laid-back flow, this is all the way up your alley, and I'm big on those type of styles too. I do like the Lil Tylers, and I do like the LOE Shimmies and the more laid-back guys. I am fans of those guys. I do like Trapland Pat. I see Trapland on here. I like Kodak a lot. Shout out V's. He did his thing. But this project overall is mid. I feel like if he takes more chances sonically, this is a different type of project, and he's in a different conversation. Right now, he's in his own lane. He's a younger artist, and he still has a lot of room for growth. So we have to give him grace for that. But in terms of a body of work, this is a mid body of work, and it's going to do enough to get you where you need to go. But it's not going to put you in the conversation with some of these other guys that are going to take their projects to the next level. He's a niche artist, a hometown hero. And that's fine. This was very mid. I give it like a flat 7, and you know a 7 is kind of the real middle ground. 5 would be on a scale of 10. 5 would be, the lower tier. 7 is what's traditionally considered the middle ground when you're doing a scale of 1 to 10. So this was mid, but there are certain tracks on here I will be replaying. So big ups to Tyler for giving me a few new ones. Really, just 2 new ones. I don't want to say a few because I don't want to contradict my point of this being a mid project. But shout out to Lil Tyler on this for coming on here and putting together body work for us to enjoy. If you do like this style of music, you're going to have a completely different opinion from me. I do enjoy this style of music, but I want to see more from Lil Tyler. But you go ahead and get in the comments and tell me what you think about this. Strictly music, only music, and nothing else. Lil Tyler's Mr. Skii. Go get that and tell me what you think. We out.